and last chapter in this book, which we spend more than 10 years, alhamdulillah. Confession, this called al-iqrar. Al-iqrar, al-Arabi, in Arabic, al-iqrar. And the verb is aqarra. Aqarra. And the word aqarra in Arabic means to place something in certain place. This is why you call it maqar. Maqar. He said, for example, maqar darsana mushrifah. The place where we have our class is in mushrifah. Maqar, why? Because this is settled down. So why they call confession iqrar in Arabic? Because when somebody aqar, that means confess, that means he said the place of this right belong to this person or to this people. So he refers to the right to its origin source. Now this is just linguistic explanation. So al-i'tiraf or al-iqrar, and called also i'tiraf, but they generally talk al-iqrar. They use the word al-iqrar. Aqarra, that means confess. Now that he have this right. So it is refers to acknowledging that one owes a right to someone else. I acknowledge that Sheikh Nabi gave me money, so I acknowledge. So I return and I inform that the right, I return it to the first source which belong to. It belongs to this man. Now, in fact, confession is just an act of acknowledgement rights which one owes others. It does not establish a new right. It does not establish a new right. That means it just confess for something which is already there. In this concern, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah said, this is very, very important statement. This is why we need to go over it all, because it has very, deep meaning. He said, if someone informs a person about what he owes others, then he is confessor. That means he acknowledges. And if he informs a person about what others owe him, then this is plaintiff. Now look at this word. The act is one. The act is one. But it takes different label depending on what? To whom belongs this right. So if you tell, because confession is telling, saying, right or not? If you tell that there is money for Ibrahim in your side, that means you confess. Right? Right. But if you said Ibrahim took from me some money, that means you are what? This called claim. There is a difference between al-iqrar wal-iddi'a. This called iddi'a. That means you claim. The action is one. It's selling, right or not? But here the difference comes. So if you confess or you told about that somebody else owes, that you owed or he owed somebody else money, that means he confessed. If he informed a person about what others owe him, this then called a plaintiff, or what we call it iddia. In case someone informed about rights which person owes other while he is entrusted about rights which his person owes other, this then will be considered this as i'timan, trust, called trust. For example, if somebody used to write documents, like somebody in the bank, for example, write what you put in your account and what you take, and he told that you give money or you put in your account money, for example. Is this considered and confessed? No, because it's not that you confess that right for right. Is it claim? You don't claim this money. Then call this what? Is this witnesses? Testifying? No, you are not. But you are what? You are trust here. Because this is your work. You are entrusted to do this. Clear? So this is called trust. But if you are telling, you are not in charge of this, but you said, for example, Muhammad, he gave Al-Hasan 5,000 riyal. This is called what? Shahada. You are testifying, because you are not in the position of trusted. You are not claiming this. You are not acknowledging this. Therefore, you testify for the rights of other and for other people. You get the point here? So we have, the action is one, but the label is what? Different. Depends on what? Depends on the situation. Either who has the right, you or the other side, or if you are entrusted and this is part of your business, or you just are telling to support the right of the plaintiff. So this is called shahada. So let me read this to make it very clear. So if someone informs a person about what he owes other, then he is a confessor. This is iqrar. If he informs a person about what others owe him, then he is a plaintiff. This is iddia, claim. In case someone informs about rights which person owe others while he is entrusted with such rights, he thus is regarded as mere reporter, mukhbir. You just report what you know based on your rule. Now, your rule was to trust. So you are telling what happened as a reporter, akhbar. However, if he is not entrusted with such right, he then is regarded as witness. The judge, the agent, scribe, guardian, and the authorized person are all entrusted with whatever jobs they perform. So this depends on what the position. Right? So for example, if the judge, you want to introduce your case to a judge in Jeddah, and then the case will be transferred to a higher court, and then the higher court, the judge there, ask you as a judge, because you are the one who dealt with this case, and you said it was come to me that this person claimed money from the other person. Then what this judge is doing is what? Reporting. This is ikhbar, because he was entrusted in this case. I hope this is clear. Right. However, if they are dismissed from their offices and inform about what they knew, this is not considered confession, it is rather informed also. Because even he was, finished his job, but this happened while he was in charge of this situation. Ibn Taymiyyah then added, confession does not establish a new right, rather brings right into light and inform people about what one owes others. So just, confession to tell other people about their rights. There are many conditions that must be fulfilled to make the confession valid. It's very, very important. Not any confession will be accepted unless it was what? Met these conditions. What are they? We'll talk about this. First of all, now, when the confessor is legally accountable. Legally accountable. That means he's an adult. He is sane. Right? How about a child? Remember? No, if there's something which relates to kids, to children, and they confess, it will be accepted from them. Because this is relate to their lifestyle. Hence, it is not valid when made by a child, an insane person, or a sleeping person. However, confession is acceptable and legally binding from a minor, provided that it must be within the limits specified for him in commercial affairs. That means he was selling, and like some people they hire some children, the father go from his shop, he leave his child behind him. Right? Somebody come and bought something, and then he left and he forgot, and then you remember and return to get the product that you paid the money for, right or not? And then the child who was in charge, he confessed, he said, yes, this man, he gave me the money, but he forgot this product here. Should we accept it or not? Yeah, in this case it's accepted. Right. Also, confession must be made with one's free will. This is very important. Just to show you the justice of Islam. Any confession that come under pressure will not be accepted. And this was sometimes, unfortunately, done in some prisons around the world. But for Islam, this will not be accepted. Why? Because the Muslim, anything which happens, without his free will, he is not responsible for. If this relates to the rights of Allah Azza wa Jalla, like for example, a person who was fasting, and one come and force him and push water or food in his mouth, this will not break his fast, because it was not his own will. Right? So this is the same thing for confession. It should be with a free will. Right? So confession is not acceptable when one is forced, except when confession to think other than what one has been forced to confess. Moreover, confession is not valid when the confessor is interdictate the confession. If a weak-minded person is not legally valid, he was forced or he was. Confession is not to be made to think in other people's possession or under other people's guardianship. Why? Because confession about what's in your side, right or not? How come you make confession about others? As we explained before, this will be either testimony or trusted or reporting, right, or claim. If the confessor claims that he has confessed involuntarily, this is accepted from him, provided that he introduces proof substituting what he claims. That means to support his claim. The confession of a sick person that property belongs to any one other than the legal heirs is legally binding. Now here talking about something which some people do before they die. Look to the Sharia. Let me read the whole thing and then explain it. Since he is not suspected of showing favoritism, moreover, when one is sick, one is keen to retain whatever rights one owes to others. Give example. A father, he is sick and he thinks that he is dying. Then he confessed that, told people around him, look, this house belonged to so and so. I took it from without right. We look now about the person. If this person that he said this house belonged to him is one of his heirs, then it will not be accepted. Why? That means he will make favor for one of his children over others. But if this confession for somebody else, no one will take whatever belongs to him and his children and give it to a stranger, right or not? So if he said, no, this belongs to so and so, that means he's what? He's right. Why? Because he wants to get rid of this right and this word, so will not be question about it in the day of judgment. You get the point here? So if this was belong to somebody else other than his hire, then it will be accepted. But if this, or he confessed for right for some of his hire, then it will not be accepted while he is in his sickness. Right? If someone claims that another person owe him something and the respondent acknowledges this person claim, then the respondent's acknowledgement is acceptable and binding as well. And it is regarded as confession which he is bound to. Right? Because this according to the hadith of Prophet ﷺ, وَالْيَمِينُ عَلَى مَنْ أَنْكَرَ. طيب. نعم. So, or al-iqrar, this hadith here, al-iqrar, طيب, there is no excuse for one who confesses. طيب. That means the one who confesses is already told what he has, so it will be taken in account. Confession is valid and legally binding when declared with any wording indicating confession. For example, by saying, you have told the truth. That means it's not necessary that he said, I confess, exact word. I confess that Ibrahim gave me 10,000 riyals. It's enough in front of the judge. If Ibrahim claimed and he said, I give this person 10,000 riyals, the judge will ask him, what do you say? If he said, yes. Is this confession or not? Huh? So this is a confession. So it's not necessary, to make it long story. As long as he approve what the other side claimed, then that means he confessed that he has the right. It is valid to exclude half or less of the total amount or whatever one owes another when confessing. That is to say, when one confesses that he owes someone 10 of such and such thing except 5. He said, yes, he have around 10, except 5. That means half. So this also will be, that is to say, when one confesses, as we said, except 5, he is bound to give him 5. So he confessed of what? Of part of the right, not the whole total. He said, I gave him 10,000. He said, he gave me 5. Which one we take? Huh? The things that he confessed. That's the one that he acknowledged. He acknowledged that 5, but he didn't acknowledge the whole amount. Is it clear? Right. In addition, many scholars maintain that it is permissible for the confessor to exclude more than one half. Right. To be valid, exclusion must be said non-stop. What does it mean, non-stop? Because sometimes pause when you speak and then stop. This will interrupt the statement. So you don't know when he restarts speaking. Is he continuing what he was saying, or he just starts a new statement, a new subject? Got the point? Therefore, should be non-stop, that you confess the whole statement. So if the confessor say, I owe so and so 100 of an article, for example, then he pauses, though he continue, then he say profitless or uncredit. The confessor then is bound to give him one saleable 100 on the spot. Beside whatever the confessor say after his pause is not to be taken into consideration. As we said, because this interruption may change the meaning. Since he does try to remove, alright, which is already binding. Right. If someone sells something or gives as a gift, and then he confesses that this things belong to someone else, his confession is not to be accepted. Why? Why not accepted? Let's say, for example, I gave Abu al-Hasan, for example, a computer, PC, as a gift. And later on, I said, this computer which is belong to Abu al-Hasan, which is in his hand now, I confess that it is for so and so. Then it will not be accepted from him. Why? Because now it is not his. Get the point? Doesn't belong to him anymore, right? And we say confession is what? To acknowledge something which is belong to you, for others. Not to confess about the right which is in the hands of others. Is it clear? Clear? Sahih.
It can be a witness, but not a...
Yeah, as we said, you can witness or you can is telling, but not confession. It will not be taken as confession. So no one will go and say, will go to Abu al-Hasan, okay, bring this. Why? Because so and so said that who gave it to you said that it belongs to so and so. He has no right to depend on this confession. Right. As you said, if someone sells something or gives it as gift, sold. You sold the car. Your name? عثمان. لوط. حياك الله شيخ لوط. مثلا الشيخ لوط مالك. طيب. He bought a car from Yatani. And after he registered with his name and everything, and mashallah, Mr. Lut is happy with his car driving. And after 1 month they call him. They say this car belonged to, for example, Shamsul. Said no. Said no, but Mr. Jatani confessed that this will not be accepted because it's already now out. It's not belong to Jatani, therefore it belongs to somebody else. So his confession is not be accepted. Clear? Right. Confession confession is valid and legally binding when it concerns things the confessor does not exactly specify, which could be interpreted in 2 ways or more, all being the same for the confessor. Right. If a person confesses saying, I owe so and so, such and such things, his confession is valid and legally binding, yet he is to be asked to explain what he intends and make himself clear so as to be liable for it. He doesn't say, well, I owe money for Ibrahim or for Khalid. طيب, how much is it? طيب, otherwise he'll come, he said, give me 10,000. And the money only 1,000. Therefore, to be bind, then it should be very, very clear about the confession. I think all this is clear.
Regarding the previous question,
regarding
the previous example,
yes,
not accepting the confession, but the right is there.
The right is there that you can claim it.
Yeah.
You can claim it. You claim it from whom? From the one who sold it.
From the one who sold it.
See, so you go to the court, he said, for example, my car was taken by so and so, and it was sold to somebody else. So the one who bought the car, he has no, reliability. I mean, he's not liable because a person, he came and paid money and get a car. Yeah. Just imagine you are at your home and somebody knocks the door and they say the police want you. Why? Because your car belonged to your name, Muhammad Amin. Because your car, this car, what do you belong to Mr. Amin? Said, no, but I bought it from Lut. Naam. Then they should ask whom? Ask Lut, because he's the one who sold it. He's the one that will become to the court. Clear? Right. Right. If someone confesses that a garden belongs to someone else, his confession includes the trees, the building, and the land. If he said this garden belongs to so and so, he confessed. That means everything in the garden is there. But if he said one tree, only one tree, this tree belongs to so and so, then only that tree. That means if this tree die or harvest or taken out, then had no right in this place. You get the point here? Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Stop for adhan for it. If someone confessed owing someone some dates in a bag, why this Sheikh mentioned the example here? Because here we have two things. We have what? The date and the bag. So he said, confess that about the date, then the date is, but the bag is not included here. Maybe you say, well, this is very, but here we're talking, remember my dear brothers, what we see these days as something which is very simple for them at all time. It's not an easy, matter. Cost. Like for example, one toe. Maybe it says, well, garment, just you can give them 10. Yeah, nowadays you can give, but before, one garment is cost a lot for them. Right? So this is why. So here the Sheikh said, or garment and rubbing. His confession includes the enveloped object, the date, or the garment. Right? But not rather than the envelope itself. This because the envelope object and the envelope are not the same. You see how much specify in specific? They're not the same. I'm talking about what is there. Right? For the former does not completely absorb the latter. Besides, the enveloped object and the envelope do not necessarily belong to one person. You brought this, for example, mashallah, this box, jazakallah. Right? You ask Ibrahim to give you nice pot or container to put these things in it, and then you confess that this belongs to Ali. Will you give him the pot of Ibrahim also? Just what is contained, what is there. This is the point which the Sheikh trying to explain. Right? If someone confesses saying, I and so share the ownership of such and such an object. Now, he confessed about his right and the right of whom? Of his partner. Now we will talk about something which belongs to people or more. Then, does this liable the other party? Maybe the other party did not confess this, right or not? Therefore, if it was general, then we assume that it is half and half, right? Because people usually, when they make any partnership, they make it half and half, unless there was specification. That means it was explained clearly in word, that he said, I have 1/3 of this house. That means the other 2/3 belong to his partner. So he is to determine the share of his partner. Some scholars maintain that in such cases each partner is considered having an equal share according to the general rule. This, as we say, generally. But if he specifies, then this will clear the the point here. As Allah Azza wa Jalla said, they share the third. Maybe they share 1/3 or 1/4. It's not necessary to be equal. So if any owes any right to others, he must make confession stating that when necessary. Confess what is the portion of his part in this company or in this ownership. The Shaykh mentioned some ayat, the meaning here: "Oh, you have believed, be persistently standing firm in justice, witness for Allah, even if it be against yourself." This is just reminding of what we already did. Well, in this regard, book Al-Kafi, Al-Kafi was written by Muwaffaq Ibn Qudama. Remember we talked about this. Muwaffaq, he wrote Al-Umda, طيب, Al-Kafi, Al-Mughni, 4 levels. Remember this in Fiqh Al-Hanbali school of Fiqh, and we already talked about this. He said, dictation in this verse means confession, and the judgment must be issued according to the confession. The Prophet ﷺ has said, Unais, go to the wife of this man, and if she confesses that she has committed adultery, then stone her to death. So here the Shaykh is just reporting some proofs from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ as accepting the confession as one of the way to determine the rights of people. Is it clear? So this is the purpose of this. Finally, last word the Shaykh said, gentle reader, here's an abstract of the Islamic jurisprudence between your hand and I. Seek Allah's forgiveness for whatever mistake or deficit may be herein. I also invoke Allah to grant us all benefit from whatever sound matters are in it, and to guide us all to the useful knowledge and righteous deed. This was the closing statement of the Shaykh for his great book, and we also, after we finish this, we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to forgive us for any faults or any shortening or any maybe shortcomings of our saying or own words, and may Allah Azza wa Jalla increase us all in knowledge and accept from us what we say, whatever we do, and make whatever we learn is for, first of all, for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, and benefit us from whatever we say, whatever we learn, whatever we teach, whatever we hear, and make whatever we learn or study or hear or teach in our scale to testify for us, not against us. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. And by this, alhamdulillah, we conclude, alhamdulillah, and we finish this book of 2 volumes. In fact, the one who study with us this book, that means he cover all fields of fiqh. We included everything in the fiqh, because it was 2 volumes. We spent more than 10 years, as we said, okay. And students, mashallah, through this time, some students come, some leave, some of them they left the kingdom, some newcomer, and some, mashallah, continue. From the permanent students from the beginning, like Ibrahim, Nabi, for example, mashallah, Muhammad Aziz, Shamsul, those who still, mashallah, they started with us from the beginning and mashallah continue. And those brothers who come late also, inshallah, they will have the recorded lessons, which Brother Ibrahim and Shamsul, may Allah Azza wa Jalla reward them, always they record our classes, and they send it in our WhatsApp group, or before this WhatsApp they used to email it to a mailing list. And also to inform you that this same book we just started again at GDC every Friday at 10 o'clock. So we're still in the first part, which is about purification, which is in volume 1 and chapter 10. And some of you, mashallah, alhamdulillah, at 10. And we hope, inshallah, also, after we finish this, with recorded also live. So, inshallah, when we finish, it will be available for everyone. جزاكم الله خير وبارك الله فيكم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.